Welcome to Polishing Profits by the Profitable Cleaner Network, hosted by Mark Anderson, Sharon Cowan CBSE, and Ed Selkow, seasoned cleaning business owners with over 140 years of success. Learn what works, skip the missteps, and build on proven success.
And welcome to another edition of Polishing Profits podcast. And we are working through the Edgar Allan Poe story, The Pit and the Pendulum, and how this directly affects business owners. If you haven't had a look at that particular story, take a look. But let's face it, sometimes running a business, any business, but especially a cleaning business, can be like trying to get yourself saved out of a horror story. Whether it's the pit and the pendulum or it's the guy with the chainsaw in the garage. You never know what's going to come after you. So we're going to give you some helpful 40,000 foot advice on things that you should be looking at. And of course, as always, we're available. You can check down below and how to get a hold of us. Links are there and how to find us. And we would be happy to have discussions with you and help you. But we're here to get you thinking. The whole idea of these is to get you thinking. And what we want you thinking about today is the operational overhaul side. In other words, process efficiency. And you go, well, I don't need a process. I only have 2 people. Well, we would beg to differ with you on that. If you have yourself and only yourself, you need a process. How to go through the building, how to clean it when it's clean. If you're going to have somebody cover for you, how to train it for it. Everybody needs a process. And processes are easier to build when you start, when you have nothing, believe me. When you have 20 people, it isn't the time to decide, oh dear Lord, I need a cleaning process. I need someone to delegate this to train it. So we want you to start thinking early, regardless of where you're in your business. If you've got 100 people, when's the last time you looked at your processes? When's the last time you put a playbook to them? So this is information, whether you're, $10 a month or $10 million a month, all of these are critical things. And growing your cleaning company requires efficiency, consistency, if you want to scale. If you want to add one more account, you've got to know how to scale. And small businesses, small companies can operate informally. You can get it done. But the question is, as you continue to grow, you can get it done, but can you get it done right? So, and that damages quality, damages customer opinion, and customer opinion damages reputation. So it's like a domino effect. So today we're going to discuss standardizing your workflows. We're not going to go down through everything, but when workflows, you want to think routine cleaning, any of the cleaning, floors, windows, carpets, your supervision, your inspections, your customer contacts. All of these are processes in your business. Whether you're doing them by yourself as a solo entrepreneur or a one-hat operation, or you've got 100 people, it's all the same thing. So you need to standardize and leverage technology. Technology can help you Scratch that, technology can help you out a lot. So let's go with standardizing workflows for quality control. Sharon, you want to kick us off in the pitfall of informal operations. I gave a little sketch, but let's start the discussion right there.
Sure. I think that there is not a size requirement for you to start having your SOPs. You don't have to be at $300,000 or $1 million before you really have the processes in place. They need to begin from day one that you begin your business. And you have to look at the 3 stools of the business that Ed has referred to many times in our conversations. You have the 3-legged stool, and that is the human resource side, the financial side, and the operation side. There are systems and processes in every one of those legs of the stool. So again, when one of the legs is missing, the stool becomes lopsided and doesn't function. That's what happens when you don't have operations and procedures in place and processes in place for every leg of the stool. And it takes time. It's not a daunting task. You can get it done. You can assign it. One of the things I did early on when I had an office manager, I had her write a training manual for how she would teach someone to do everything she did every day. That was back in the days when it was manually written and typed out and in a manual form. But I assigned that to her. You can assign a training process to whomever trains for you. Let them create the process. they're the ones that are in the weeds with it every day. So it's not a project that you have to undertake totally by yourself. You can delegate it. But no matter who does it, you need to get it done regardless of the size you are, because it will get in the way of your growth if you don't.
Ed, why don't I let you jump right on that and talk about why standard operating procedures matter, regardless of which point.
Yeah, it's the beginning point for one of the most abused words in the cleaning industry, which is quality.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Every time you see the word, pick up 100 cleaning service websites. Every damn one of them talk about quality, and when you ask them to define it, they can't. Okay, this is how it's done on each account. Okay. Now, one other thing that I'm going to throw in is that what I like to do is I always like to put it in order of how the cleaner would do it.
Okay.
Okay. So rinsing your mop out is at the end. Okay. Stocking your cart up is at the beginning, etc.
And even when you're doing it yourself, you have a process. Well, we were talking before, we used to call them cleaning runs. And basically, from the time I put the key in the door or get on my floor, I know where the lights are, where the closet is, and how this whole thing's going to go. And it goes through a process that's as efficient as possible. And when we're talking about standard operating procedures, when you dust, when you clean the restrooms, what tools you use, what tools you don't use to cross-contaminate. All those things are important, getting back to producing what is quality. Well, quality comes in two flavors. It comes in the work you do, and it comes in the perception of the customer, of what they think about the work you did. So really just bringing that up very quickly. So practical steps, I'll wrap this up. Practical steps to standardizing your workflows. And again, remember, this isn't a deep dive. These are things to get everybody thinking about our standard processes. And again, it doesn't matter if you're small or if you're large. When's the last time you reviewed processes to make sure trainers are training correctly and accordingly?
Mark, define that.
Define what, Ed? Well, okay, yeah, processes. Processes can come from structured onboarding, documented cleaning procedures. Anytime you touch that building, floors, windows, carpet cleaning, regular cleaning. There's a process to get the work done and done effectively, and to get it done productively. Because again, if we don't get it done in the time we bid, we don't make any money. So the next one, define QC checklists. What are your checklists? What do your informal, your formal, and your follow-up inspections look like? Who does them? How do they report? What's the performance scorecard? What's the grade? And then finally, that third, now we've got another stool, and I'm going to stick a stool, another three-legged stool in the conversation. But you've got the onboarding, the documented processes for cleaning, you've got your inspection portion, your performance cards as you see it, and then most importantly, you have to have a way to track or put the metrics on how the customer sees the performance that you've graded. In other words, we think it's clean, and the customer says, "This isn't worth a crap, this is dirty, I'm going to show you why." And it's one corner in the third floor in the second bathroom, and all 100,000 square feet are at risk. So what's customer procedures? Well, those are your response times, your resolution times, the way you survey your client, and the time that you meet with them and have a discussion about what we're just talking about here. Here's what we've done. Here's how we think it is. How do you see it? Where the gaps are, we define them, and we go back to work next month to improve it. So in my mind, to make it at a 40,000-foot view, those are the standardizations, SOPs, standard operating procedures in each part of the function, as it relates directly to operations. There's other things like scheduling, but we're not going that deep. No shows, things like that, but everything. So,
And Sharon knows the magic word, what not to say.
what not to say.
Magic word, what not to say. How are we doing?
How's it
How are we doing?
How's it going? Yes.
All right, real quickly, I'm watching our time. So Sharon, why is that question the kiss of death? How did you learn that the hard way? Ed and I know the story.
Well, that was that. Ed and you have heard this story a million times. It's my first night on a brand new big account, and I went to check on the cleaners. And the next morning, I called my customer and I said, "Well, how was everything when you came in this morning?" And his answer to me was, "Sharon, that's your business to know. It's not my business to tell you. It's your company, And that's your job to know how things went last night. So that's the kiss of death, asking how things are. You should know. And that should be part of your process and your system.
Exactly.
Making a visit or having a supervisor make a visit to the new account the next morning. So you see what the customer sees.
And when you ask the customer, it's after you've told them, here's how we believe we're doing. Are you
Right.
seeing things the same way? Is an entirely different
Right.
question than
Then
asking the customer.
how is everything? Yeah,
I'm going to
absolutely.
leave our listening audience with that great piece of advice. Don't ask that question. You're looking at three people with 160 years combined experience. It gets longer every year we do this. You'll get bulldozed with it. You better
Yeah.
know. You better be the one saying, here's where we are, here's where we think we are. If there's something wrong, here's how we're going to fix it. And to do that, you have to have standardized operating procedures, and they don't have to be more than 1 to 5 lines. With all
Right.
that said, thanks for listening to the Pit and Pendulum. Here's another way to keep yourself out of the
Out
horror
of
stories and the trouble.
out of the
Take
pit.
care. We'll see everybody the next time around. Thanks for listening. Polishing Profits. Everywhere you can find the podcast, you can find us. Cheers.